host, Liza, here with Pastor Tim.
Hey, everybody.
And today we want to talk a little bit about how to show up like Jesus when December is heavy for some of our friends. Because the holidays can be a really fun, happy, uplifting time for some of us. And then for some of us, it can feel really isolating and heavy and full of grief and just loneliness. And so we just want to figure out a way to let care last, not only through the holidays, but beyond that. So I guess the starting question would be, when a friend finally opens up to you about how they're feeling in the holiday season, and I feel like a lot of us can think of one or two people that that might be the case for, what does your first move look like? How do you listen and respond?
Yeah, that's so good. You know, something like this run through Thanksgiving, Christmas, even New Year's, it's like a big wind. It's like a rushing wind. Mm-hmm. And if your sails are set in a good direction and your rudder is solid and you're feeling good, that can really feel great. Like, wow, there's a lot of wind at my back and I'm headed in a great direction and everything is a celebration. But if you're in those moments in life where the sail is ripped in half and the boat's leaking and and you're honestly your rudder of when I say rudder, I'm thinking like how you respond to the events in your life. You're just from a mental health posture or from a emotionally drained posture, your rudder is just off. Man, that wind comes and you're looking at rocks. I mean, you're just like, oh, keep me from just falling apart. And so I think a really key thing to being present to one another is eliminating assumptions of where other people are. I remember that, I like that Mark Twain quote, you have no idea the pain behind every smile. He either said something like that or something clever that was better than that, but because that's kind of dark, but he probably said it in a funny way. But behind every smile, behind every person's smile that you meet is a story. And the smile is part of that story, but there's more to that story.
Totally.
And so I think as you are in relationships that are at that level of depth that you can genuinely care for one another and be authentic, you want to eliminate the assumption of what somebody else is feeling, about Thanksgiving, about Christmas. It's easy in a season of life to say, oh, Thanksgiving, the house is going to be so full, and I'm just so busy with cooking the casseroles and the, and I need to find a 35-pound turkey because so many people are coming and
figure out how to even cook that thing in this small oven.
Yeah, and then if you're thoughtful, you're aware, you're bumping up against someone who does not have younger family nearby and has just lost their spouse and is really looking at a Thursday in November as like a terrorizing affair of like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to, what is my plan for navigating this day when the whole world is experiencing something that's not available to me? And so just that awareness of, man, there's a range of experience of stepping into the holidays.
Oh, yeah. But Parker Samuelson, shout out Parker.
Wise.
In our young adults gathering on Sunday, his wife is a therapist, and she gave him a book to read about counseling, and he brought this up, so I think it's okay that I'm sharing it. This book ultimately said that, like, the worst thing you can do when someone's sharing your experience, which I needed to hear, is, like, you want to relate to them. And so what you try to do is say, like, oh, well, a similar situation happened to me. And that's actually so not what you do with someone that's hurting. And so I've been loving people so wrong because I think that's where my brain goes, is like, people want to be seen and known, and the best way is to relate. And that actually makes people feel horrible because they're like, you're trying to trump my negative experience or something,
You're just in order to, you think you're relating, but you're actually reflecting back on your own on your own self.
Yeah, like you're bringing the
selfishly.
conversation back to you.
And that is. We were in men's Bible study just talking about John the Baptist, and or we will be talking about John the Baptist, and that whole idea of how John the Baptist was pointing at Jesus, and that was his ministry, that was his calling, that was his life. Like that defined his life from before birth. Like that's who I am. I'm pointing to him. And we have a tendency to get into the mindset that everything is my story, and you're like a guest character, Yeah. And you're a guest character in my sitcom, in my miniseries. And even God is like a guest character in my miniseries. And we get into that place. And so someone comes and says, I'm really hurting, or I'm experiencing this, and our first reaction is to explain how I'm also doing that, and even more so, or even better, or even differently, and more colorfully, or more terribly. I mean, I feel it even worse than that. And that's just us trying to be in the center of the universe. And the real gift is to see that this isn't a story about me, this isn't a story about you, but to know this is a story about God that we both get to be in. And this is a story about Jesus that he's invited us to be characters in. And when you get to that place, because it's not just a push-pull, like either it's about me or it's about you, it's about Jesus. And so being present like Jesus to those who are expressing disappointment or pain or frustration in the holidays is I think primarily about that. Like, this isn't about you, it isn't about me. Let's look to Jesus together. It's about us before the Lord.
Yeah. What are, I guess, ways that we can love people without having this? Have you heard the term savior complex?
Oh, yeah.
How do we do that? Because if we can't relate, we don't want to look like we have this savior complex. We really, truly do just want to love someone through something.
Yeah.
What's the best way, and what's the best way not to? Like, can we call out some of the things that are damaging and hard? And can we also call out the ways to respond with kindness and love?
Yeah. I mean, I think we have a tendency to want to rescue out of discomfort. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, that's the root of my question.
And it's my discomfort too. I want to get out of my discomfort. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you're going to have a hard Thanksgiving? Ugh, like that's uncomfortable for me. Well, I'm sure there'll be a good TV show on that you like, or,
trying to offer alternate solutions.
That's right. Yep, God's got a purpose for everything. Have a good Thanksgiving. Okay, bye. And those light, superficial axioms that we're actually doing that to escape our own discomfort. That's the first thing to be aware of. So, if we want to love like Jesus in those moments, Jesus was not afraid of his own discomfort.
Yeah.
He was comfortable with his own discomfort. Mm-hmm. And we need to grow, as we grow in the likeness of Christ, it means growing in our comfort with our own discomfort.
Yeah.
And if there was ever a moment I was preaching to myself, it's that. Like, I want to rescue myself and you from discomfort. So I'm going to edge us away from the difficult topic. I'm going to point to what's hopeful and pretty, and I'm going to say something funny, and we're going to laugh, and we're going to have a great moment, and then we're going to split. And so learning to be comfortable in discomfort is one of the key things to being able to really love someone through a moment of trial and pain.
Yeah. And how do you hold them in that trial and pain without fully taking on their pain? That's
another real challenge. You can have what they call transference, where you've taken their pain onto yourself, and you actually can't sort of enter in and step out of someone else's pain.
Yeah. Because
it's sort of like, whoop, now I've absorbed it. Now with close friends and relations, with family relations, that might be an appropriate place to be. I'm going to bear one another's burdens. I'm going to get under this with you. I'm going to get down in the pit with you. And here we sit until God changes some things, and there's a new avenue to step forward out of this, and we'll do it together. But in most cases, with friendships and with people that you're trying to just be present to through the holidays and that sort of way, they're learning these sorts of boundaries are important, of entering into the pain and discomfort, and also recognizing I'm not going to run away from this because it makes me uncomfortable, but I'm also not going to make it my own. It's yours. And you don't say that like
no. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, so that sounds like a your problem, not a my problem. Right? Like that might be a healthy conversation.
And maybe, I don't
know. But in your mind, you got to remember God's brought me here to add some blessing to the situation, but the situation belongs to this person and God, and God's going to write that story. And so I want to add some blessing. I want to be present as God's called me to be, but I'm also not just going to sort of take that on as my own responsibility to fix you or to make you a project.
Yeah, I think that's really well put. Because I know, like when I'm personally struggling with something around the holidays, or just in general, I have a hard time because I don't want to burden people with what I have to say, like my close friends. I don't want to burden them, but so then I come off as inauthentic because I'm not fully sharing myself and what I'm going through. Maybe because I've been burned in the past, and people telling me I'm not your therapist, like, because that feels invalidating, or like, okay, yeah, you're right, you're not, and I don't want you to hold this. I think I just need someone to sit and listen and love on me. Yeah. Because I'm not able to love on other people unless I'm loved on. Yeah. And so if I turn it that way and try to figure out, like, okay, how would I want to be loved in this situation? I think that's a lot more helpful than me trying to fix their circumstances. Like, let's go get ice cream. Let's let's go to a movie. Let's distract. Yeah. From the root cause, instead of like sitting with it and saying, that sucks. That's really heavy and really hard. Like, what? And asking questions. How can I love you? What do you need? I think there's a lot of power in saying, what do you need, instead of, if you need anything, let me know. I think if we just assume you need something, what is that? Like, what do you need? It comes off as really loving, and it is loving. Because I think if you need anything, let me know, it's like, it's almost just like cordial and polite to say that. It's not.
And we have in our society cordial and polite things that we say that we don't mean. And that I heard a funny story about one of we're mission partners with Crew in Mongolia, So we have a lot of people who come over here from Mongolia. We send people over there. Yeah. And so we were hearing a story recently about one of our Mongolian friends. He moved over here. He's up in Denver now. And when he first got to the U.S., and somebody said, "Hey, how are you?" Now, in Mongolia, if someone asks, "How are you?" they're inviting you into like a second level friendship. Oh. Of like, they will say hello, and they will tell stories of their family like that. It's really interesting. It is a very different culture. But then if you said, "How are you?" you're going like, "How are you?" Oh,
like it's not like, "Good, walk away."
No. Okay. He get this. He, in response to this, starts doing like an inventory of his soul and the challenges of his life and stuff. And the guy was like looking at him, with plates in his eyes, and the next time they met, I think the guy said something like, "Hey, I didn't really mean like your life story or something." And our friend was really hurt. He was like, "Well, yeah, that's hurtful. If you ask me, like, how are you?" So we've got these little sayings that we're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you've got to we have to grow in our awareness of navigating our relationships, of knowing, are you really asking, and is this a moment to really share? Or are you expressing that you see and value me and love me, but this isn't really the time? Yeah. And having those relationships where you are safe to go that deep is really important. But you were talking about, how do I be present to somebody in that? How do I love like Jesus? And it really takes empathy. So the thing that we're trying to grow in always is not just sympathy, like I can send you good wishes because I can tell that is difficult over there. Empathy is more, I can imagine myself in your shoes, and I'm stretching to imagine what you need. Mm-hmm. I'm stretching to imagine how it feels to be you. And I'm going to grow in that, not to fix it, but just to feel your heart.
Yeah.
And if we can grow in empathy, then we'll be a lot more available to sitting through the pain and seeing that person's story with God as something that maybe I can add a blessing to, or I can add something to that helps you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do we reflect?
When Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. I think that's a little bit more than just figure out how much you love yourself and love your neighbor that much.
That's tough. That'd be tough.
I think it's a challenge to grow in empathy.
Uh-huh.
Like, love your neighbor. Like, put yourself in your neighbor's space. Mm-hmm. Try to put yourself where they sit. And as you grow in empathy for them, that's going to open up room for God to move in that relationship in some healing ways.
I have never thought of love your neighbor as yourself in that way. That's beautiful. Because it is like, okay, I don't really love myself that much. Like, you know, and so people are like, you have to love yourself before you love others.
That's easy. I don't even like myself.
Yeah, it's like your cup has to be full before you pour into other people's cups.
Yes.
You know, all the idioms, which are true.
Yeah.
But that's a really...
But sometimes if the only focus is self, there's no dynamic flow of the Spirit. Mm-hmm. So you're a reservoir, you're not a river. And so you're not going to feel full because you're just trying to hold cup water in your hands of what you've got for yourself. And so this exercise of loving neighbor, loving out, empathizing with others, being present with others, that becomes a dynamic flow of the Spirit. Rivers of living water flow through you, and then you actually feel fuller for having focused on someone other than yourself.
Yeah. That is good. What if we're concerned, this is going to take kind of an aggressive turn. And I know none of us are, I guess you're a doctor, but not a physician.
No,
you're a physician,
not a physician.
Of the soul. But I certainly have no medical experience or education around this. So if we're concerned about self-harm or like harm to someone else, because I know that's really prevalent, like the suicide hotlines and a lot of nonprofits around mental health are booming around the holidays.
Yeah.
What are the immediate steps that we should take in that we're a Christian, but we're also a human? So it's like, how do we reflect Jesus without, cliches, but how do we make sure that they're safe without damaging their relationship with Jesus? Because sometimes, when people want to take their lives, they're upset with us for trying to save it. Yeah.
That's a really important question. And with the rise of suicide, with the rise over the holidays period, the pressures can really collapse somebody in a place of despair. Being aware of your own limitations is so important. Knowing when you're out of your depth. And I think a big part of empathy and loving your neighbor through any season is being interruptible and saying, you being in front of me in our relationship is more important than my calendar commitments. Mm-hmm. And so if we're entering into a moment where we're having now a conversation of real depth and your heart is on your sleeve, your heart is on the floor, I'm interruptible. And my time is yours, and recognizing those moments when I just need to be here with you until this feels like it has come back into the bounds, like that we've come back into a healthy space. And then in that space where someone is maybe talking about self-harm or harming themselves or others, then the commitment that you need to make inside you is, I'm here for this until it's finished. And then I only have so many tools. I have the tools of a friend. I have the tools of a friend. So I'm going to need bigger tools. And so edging that person towards, I'd really love for us to call a suicide hotline together. Mm-hmm. I'd really love to know that you're being cared for in the way that you need to be cared for in this moment.
Yeah.
I'd really love to call your most personal friend or family member and have them in this with us tonight or this moment. And knowing that, hey, there are limitations where we need to go and get people in the game, go reach out to professional help, to reach out to people who are going to take this situation and not just say, oh, I've got it, and be overconfident, because when someone's in that place, they really need help. And the best gift you can give them is not to try to be help that you don't have, but to try to get them to the help that they need.
That's really helpful. Thank you. What's your language for offering next steps after they get that help and walking them through those steps? Like if someone starts going to counseling and they come to you, like how do you walk in friendship with someone who's really down in a way that's authentic and not like I'm just checking the boxes for safety? Like I feel like a lot of us, unfortunately, have experienced that in friendships of like people who have self or suicidal ideation or self-harm conversations, and you start to feel responsible or like, and so then you act out of fear instead of out of like a calm and loving presence. Like, what are the next steps? What are the questions that we ask that person to keep checking in? Not as it, not taking on, the hurt.
Right.
But
being committed
to loving them.
Being present.
Yeah.
There's so many places in the scriptures that model this for us. Mm-hmm. You think about Job's friends. When Job was, everything was taken away from him. He was in utter despair. And at the beginning, his friends sat with him. But then they started spewing bad advice. And the lesson there is, actually you would have been better off just sitting with me, just being present with me. And the thing about that is that we're not stuck. No matter how bad it is, no matter how tight the surrounds, no matter the emotional and psychological strictures that are cutting things off, you're dynamic in time. God has placed you in time and space, and things are changing. Seasons are changing. The clock is moving. You're growing. The people around you are growing. The world is shifting. Things will change. Yeah. Winter will become spring. It's gonna come. There's gonna be a different season than this. And so as bad as it may feel, just to say, I just want to sit with you, and I'll sit with you tomorrow, and we'll get together on Saturday. And but if this is a friendship that you're committed to in that way, let's just say, I'm going to be with you until this season has changed. Mm-hmm. And I'm not bringing the change. I can't tell you what it's going to be like when it does, but I'm going to tell you I love you and I'm going to be with you. Yeah. And that's the witness of scriptures. You think about I think it was Brené Brown. I sort of referenced this, but there are people who walk up to somebody stuck in the pit and they say, hang on, I'm going to go get something. There are people that walk up to somebody in a pit and they throw down a ladder and say, good luck getting out. But there are people that walk up to somebody in a pit and they jump down in with them and say, we're going to find our way out together. And that kind of friend commitment, if you're willing to make that commitment, that really is a witness to loving neighbor as you love yourself.
Well, shouldn't you go get something?
Yeah, shouldn't you? Yeah.
To help him out. Yeah. I'm like jumping.
Like, why'd you jump down here? Like
that reminds me of a
go get a ladder.
Have you seen the Winnie the Pooh episode where they're like tangling up all the knots? I'm digressing.
I don't know that one, but you make a really good point. I think Brene Brown is way off on that. Like, dude, don't jump in. Now we're both stuck. No, but it's that commitment of being together.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, and I hope no one's taking this episode as me saying, like, we shouldn't be celebrating the holidays because it's somber and it's sad. Because there is so much joy in the coming of Christ. It's more of like, let's check in with our people, right?
Yes.
Let's make sure that people know that they don't have to be alone. They have Jesus on their side. And
love that.
Like just remember that not everyone is joyful, and how can we be God's army in that way?
Throw the assumptions out the window.
So, my encouragement to you guys, just to wrap this episode up, is to text a friend, check in with someone that you know is hurting, and ask them what they need and how you can sit with them. Just have an eye for that. We love you. Thank you guys for listening. Jesus loves you, and we'll see you next time. Next year, really.
Next year, and don't miss the fun stuff.
Yes.
You know? Don't miss the fun stuff. Make it to the celebrations that matter. Make it to worship, and don't miss what this is really all about, Charlie. Don't miss the joy of it. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.